Hey, hey, hey. How's it going?
Good morning.
It looks like Zoom did 11 instead of noon, so I may have to redo it. I don't know if it's going to cut us off. Let me see. We'll just try it, and then if we get cut off, I'll do another one, and I'll send it to you, or you can look at it and say hey.
Hi.
All right, go back and watch your program. It's good to see you guys. How are y'all doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Good, good. Hadn't seen John in a while. Glad to have you back, John.
Good to be back.
Okay, that's fine. You're good. I want to start today by reading a quote and having a discussion, sort of launching from that. This quote comes from Brene Brown's new book. I've used it before. I've mentioned it before. It is called Atlas of the Heart. And I do highly recommend it. And there's a lot in it on a lot of different topics, but hey, Vanessa, so good to see you. You back in the black, feeling better? Good. So
I am. It's so good to be here, guys. Thanks.
So glad to have you and glad you're feeling better. So the book contains a lot. I mean, a lot of different things, but obviously her wheelhouse, her expertise is in vulnerability. And that's what this quote is about. And that's what I want to talk to you today about. And what the discussion is, what our topic is related to connection. We can't connect. We can't be connected. We can't have deep and meaningful connections, relationships without vulnerability. This is sort of her whole point, and the point of all the experts who work in this area. I'm going to read the quote and we'll talk about it. When we lose our tolerance for vulnerability, joy becomes foreboding. No emotion is more frightening than joy, because we believe it will allow ourselves, if we allow ourselves to feel joy, we are inviting disaster. You know that feeling when everything is just so good, almost perfect, and you're like, how long can this last before something bad happens? Often we spend our lives trying to maximize pleasure, joy, good things, good feelings, happy times, happiness, and minimize suffering, pain, difficulty, challenges. The truth is we need both, and life, as our great teacher, provides both for great reason. And we do learn and grow and evolve during times of difficulties and challenges. But I've noticed a lot of what I would call emotionally unhealthy people deciding to defend themselves. Mm-hmm. And their defense is really against everything, so against life. And so there's a lot of different ways to do that. One is they have in the bad sense of the word, in the negative and the unhealthy sense of the word, either no or low expectations, not in the free, I'm accepting everything that comes, no expectations, but in the, I know bad shit is going to happen at any moment, and I'm just not expecting anything but that, or I'm not expecting anything at all. There's a defensiveness that there's nothing you can do for me. You can't help me. I've got everything I need. There is the It's like the person in a relationship who is happy in the relationship, and in their heart they think, okay, this is not going to last, so they sabotage it, and I'm going to break up with you before you break up with me. I'm going to end this relationship before you end it with me. It could be a friendship, it could be a business relationship, it could be a significant other, but there's such a fear of this can't last, and the heartbreak involved and losing this connection is going to be so devastating, so hurtful, that ironically, the thing I don't want to happen, I'm going to make happen so I can be the one to do it. That's such a, and I see people defending against life in these ways all the time. So they often make comments that suggest when things are good, something bad's about to happen. This can't last. I'm just waiting for the other shoe to fall. I know something bad's going to happen. Oh, it's just my luck. How many times do you hear people say that? It's just my luck. Every time something challenging or difficult happens. And I believe that the world is largely, there's a lot of things out of our control, but largely as we find it. And we can project onto the world a negative, everybody's out to get us, good times and happiness can't be trusted and won't last. And so we create a very negative life because of that. And it's a defensive maneuver. It keeps us from being vulnerable. It keeps us from connecting and having the most meaningful lives we can, because we're defending against it. Now, I do want to say that there are horrible things that happen in this life, and there are people suffering beyond what it'd be difficult for us to imagine the level of suffering. And we all have a certain amount of suffering, and we can have compassion and empathy for each other, and based somewhat on the suffering we've experienced. But there are levels of suffering, and there are people who have. Someone yesterday, when I was playing basketball yesterday, and someone was talking to me about a friend he's trying to help. This person who was talking to me is in AA, and he's recovering alcoholic, and in that group he's trying to help others. And he was saying that this one person he's trying to help is essentially committing slow suicide, and he is so mentally, his mind is just gone. I mean, he has no memory. The guy that was talking to me kept referring to it as mind mush or brain mush or something, and he said a lot of addicts have it. And he said this guy, what he's doing is committing slow suicide, and he has such physical infirmities. He can hardly walk, he can hardly move, he has such mental infirmities, can't remember, this is a level of suffering that is hard to fathom. It's hard to fathom someone doing that to themselves, and it is self-inflicted. Now, I would say it's self-inflicted because maybe of some things that were inflicted upon him to begin with. Genetically, probably in childhood, he probably is from a family of addicts. There could be trauma. There's no telling. But my point is, I'm not saying in some Pollyanna way that if we think the world's a great place, it'll be nothing but great for us. Or if we go out with a positive attitude, all we're going to get is positivity back. That is not true. But people like Viktor Frankl and others have told us that even in the worst of circumstances, that our mindset and mentality and our approach does make a difference. And so if I confront the challenges and difficulties of life in such a way where I say, this is my teacher, there is a lesson here, I am going to accept this and actually invite it in. Like Rumi talked about, this life is a guest house, and every day there's new arrivals. Welcome each one. And you know what? Some company that you have visit your home, they're not, they're not helpful. They create more work for you. You have cleanup behind them. Then others visit and they're so helpful, and they're like easing your burden because of the ways they're facility, they're helping with things. Some people bring joy by their arrival and others by their departure. Everything's different, but if we receive everyone who comes as a gift, as our teacher, then we're going to learn, we're going to benefit. But if we don't, then of course we won't. So that's the way in which I'm saying life is largely as we find it. Not that if we, the power of positivity, if we only think good things are going to happen, only good things will happen. That is not the case. I want to continue on with the quote. We start dress rehearsing tragedy in the best moments of our lives in order to stop vulnerability from beating us to the punch. That's what I was just describing. And I love her way of saying that. We start dress rehearsing tragedy in the best moments of our lives in order to stop vulnerability from beating us to the punch. I'm going to hurt you before you hurt me. I'm going to disconnect from you before you disconnect from me. I'm going to break up with you before you break up with me. I'm going to reject you before you reject me. We are terrified of being blindsided by pain, so we practice tragedy and trauma. But there's a huge cost. When we push away joy, we squander the goodness that we need to build resilience, strength, and courage. Rumi said that that's not exactly how he said it, but our vulnerability, the chink in our armor, is where the light comes in. The wound, the pain, the humanity is how the light enters us. If we're not vulnerable, light cannot come in. If we're not vulnerable, no one else can come in. And so we lack connection. And we see people all around us who have deep connections with others. And then we see those that resist that and don't have meaningful relationships because they're not willing to be vulnerable, not willing to allow themselves to have enough courage to take the risk of rejection. When you're vulnerable, you might be judged. You might get shamed. Are we strong enough to do it anyway? Are we strong enough emotionally, mentally strong enough to say, hey, guess what? I'm going to expose my vulnerability. I'm going to share my humanity with you in the hopes that you are worthy of receiving that and we can have a real connection. But if you're not worthy of receiving it, if you're not a safe place, if there is rejection or judgment or shame, then that's on you. And it's not going to prevent me from doing it again with someone else. And I'm going to do it with others who are that safe place, are that desire. They have the same desire to connect, to go beyond the surface, have a deeper, more meaningful, and I'm going to use this word, and this is so important, authentic connection. We can only have real, deep, authentic connections if we are being real and if we're being authentic, sharing our authentic selves with each other. It's our courage to expose ourselves, to be seen, to be heard, to be authentically us. Vulnerability is guess what? This is so simple, but think about it. Your ability to be vulnerable. That's what vulnerability is, your ability. Are you willing? Are you courageous enough? Are you strong enough to be your authentic self? And that means you're going to expose your strengths and your joys, but it also means you're going to expose your flaws and your secrets and your darker side, your shadow side, without apology, without shame. Sometimes because of how we're raised, because of childhood trauma, and there's a spectrum, and there's trauma of mental, emotional, physical, sexual abuse in childhood. That is and bullying and things like that. That's a trauma that's on one end of the spectrum. But just the normal slings and arrows of childhood is traumatic. And so that's on the other end. It's far less traumatic, but it still brings trauma in childhood. And we, in those early times, make a decision, probably based on what we arrive with, like genetically, who we are as a person, but also what the example is set before us by our caregivers. If they teach us not to be vulnerable, then we probably are not going to be vulnerable. If they don't show any weakness, if they don't show any vulnerability, then we have no example of that. And so we probably will fall into that same trap. And so we learn to control our emotions, to avoid expressing vulnerability, expressing emotion, expressing fear, expressing guilt or shame. We're not being real. We're not being authentic. We, in those times, we come to believe that any emotional expression is a form of weakness. You put your best foot forward. You stand toe to toe. You don't back down. You don't reveal any weakness. In fact, what you do is try to point out the weakness of others. You attack them and their weaknesses and their vulnerabilities so that you can appear stronger, braver, better. And as if you have no vulnerabilities, as if you have no weaknesses. And guess what? If you do that, you win. You control the situation. You control the business deal. You control the dynamic in the group or the family. You're showing nothing but strength and you're attacking their vulnerabilities, and that makes you win. It's so silly and it's so sad, but that is how so many of us live. Here's some experiences that will let you know that you've been avoiding being vulnerable. Number one, obviously, disconnection. If we are lonely and we don't have the friendships we would like, we might have a lot of acquaintances. We may have those, work friends. We may have those friends that share a common interest. So we do a certain activity with them. We have coworkers. We have neighbors, people that live in our community. Maybe we have people that go to our, if we have a religious organization or spiritual practice, interest, we have people that are surrounding us, but there's no depth of relationship. They're just acquaintances. That lets us know it's because we're not being vulnerable. Again, the wound, the vulnerability is where the light comes in, is where the relationship comes in. So if you're experiencing disconnection, what is the solution? Vulnerability, the courage to be vulnerable. If you feel unsupported, think about how many others or yourself, how many times you feel, man, nobody's, I do so much for so many other people, but nobody's doing anything for me. You feel unsupported. If I don't express vulnerability and needs, why would anyone know to help us? Why would they know to support us? Because we're constantly saying, oh, I got this. I'm fine. I don't need anything. I'm good. How are you? Oh, I'm good. I'm great. I'm great. How are you? And throwing it back on them rather than.
I have a phone.
She has a golden phone that says pudding on it.
That's my TT calls me pudding.
Her aunt calls her pudding. Okay, go watch it. I'll be finished in just a few minutes. I love you, girl. If we don't express a need, no one knows to meet it. No one knows that there is a need. I already sort of mentioned this, but if you feel lonely, there's a good chance it's because you are not being vulnerable enough. Disappointment, frustration, all comes from a lack of vulnerability. When expressing our vulnerability to another person, when that goes well, when we receive acceptance and love and understanding and compassion and are truly allowed to be our authentic self, no matter what, with no judgment, instantly the relationship deepens, the intimacy and connection goes to another level. I've seen and experienced this so many times. I've also seen how some people can't handle vulnerability, can't handle your authentic self. And so there's a wall, there's a defensiveness, there's a, why are you telling me this? I've had so many people say that, like supposedly close to you, intimate people. And to be honest, I feel like I could be wrong about everything I'm saying, but I feel like I am a relatively strong person. I feel strong mentally, physically, emotionally. And so because of that, and I am in my entire life, going back to adolescence, probably earlier, but adolescence, I've been a helper, a counselor, a minister, a doing for others. In that position, a lot of times people don't expect when you need something or when you're going to be vulnerable, and they're not sure how to handle it. And I definitely have had that situation where you express a need, express a vulnerability, and they're not sure what to do with it, and they're like, no, you're the giver, I'm the receiver. That's our dynamic. What you want to change? You want to change that now? You want to be the receiver and I got to be the giver? Some people can make that adjustment, others can't. I'll tell you that sometimes the fault is completely mine because there was not enough vulnerability or need expressed throughout the relationship. And so it comes to this point where it is shared and they're like, whoa, I'm not sure what to do. Oh, good. Good job, girl. Oh, nice.
No, you gotta come here.
Well, let me finish and then I'm proud of you for doing that. So there are relationships like this one over here that are more one-sided and should be. You have a child, you have a vulnerable person, you have someone in need, like deep need, and you are their caregiver, their counselor, their nurse, their doctor, their whatever. There are those one-sided relationships. By design, it should be. But if all of our relationships are one-sided, then we are not being vulnerable. And so we want to practice vulnerability so that others can practice it with us. And in doing so, we'll find those who want to be vulnerable, who are worthy of the gift of our vulnerability, and we'll find those who are not. And I have been guilty of wasting time trying to create intimacy with someone who's not capable of it. And when I say not capable, I mean by their life choices, but it's their choice, their decision. But they're not willing to be authentic or vulnerable. And they certainly don't want yours because it's uncomfortable. And so it's best that we are, if we're, to me, the best case scenario for all of us, our healthiest, our best selves, are to be vulnerable, to be authentic, no matter who we're around, no matter what the situation and circumstance is. Even though some can handle it and accept it and others don't, we're not affected by that. We're the same. We're going to be the same person. And so I'm not trying to read the room or change depending on what's happening. So But so if we're that way all the time, I think that's great. But we will find those who also are going to be vulnerable, who can accept our vulnerability, who will connect with us, who will have a deep connection. They're desiring that. We're desiring that. And so, although we should be our authentic self at all times, we have an opportunity to go deeper with some people than others. And we could waste a lot of time trying to be vulnerable, trying to have a connection with people who don't want to have that kind of connection. And if that's the case, then we've robbed ourselves and robbed the others who really want that of having that authentic relationship with others. Thoughts?
While we're here, we're so close to it. What about open-mindedness and closed-mindedness and building up deep beliefs? Are we afraid of the truth, or?
You know what? You are, man, have you hit on something?
I know.
Because it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. It's a defensiveness. And that's what lack of vulnerability is, a defensiveness. Lack of openness is a defensiveness. There's a world full of people who would rather have an answer, even though it's incomplete or wrong, than to live with the vulnerability, the ambiguity of not knowing. You find spiritually deep people, they're comfortable with ambiguity. They have seen that, you know what? There's far more questions than there are answers. Baby, go watch your phone. Let me finish up. I'll be done in just a minute. They embrace the mystery. They embrace the unknowing. They practice it. That is a sign. Baby, I'll be done in just a minute. Watch your. No. Go. I'll be just a couple more minutes. Okay. But you're right that it's the same thing. It's a kind of defensiveness, and it is give me an answer. Give me a. We see it in politics. We see people have a political view. It is a paradigm. It is a Autumn. No, don't. Okay, go there and come straight back. It is a framework that gives an answer for everything. We see that in religion. We see that in work and business and family dynamics. There's a hierarchy. Everybody knows their role and their place. And we have an answer and a paradigm that everything has to be forced into. And when Jesus talked about new wine and old wineskins, that's what he was talking about. If something new comes and you try to force it in that old paradigm, if you get a new insight, if you get a new revelation, have a new experience, get to a new level of something, the most dangerous thing we can do is try to conform that to old ways of thinking, to old paradigms. We got to allow for that paradigm shift. And what he said was the new wine would break the old wineskins. It would burst them. It would, and that is what happens. And that is great. That new wine, new revelation, new insight, new experiences should cause us to question our old paradigms and cause them to break. They break down because it doesn't fit. Anyway, I completely agree with you that we are talking about the same thing. One's of internal vulnerability, of being open, of being willing to embrace ambiguity and the unknowns, unknowing, practice and unknowing. And the other is being vulnerable and authentic with others in that same kind of way. I think that's a great insight. I was on a meeting, a Zoom call with the guys involved with making the double exposure film. And it was probably around this time. It may have been a little earlier in the day, and I was drinking, and the guy from Scotland was like, "Is that beer?" And it was full too. And I was like, "Dude, I'm in the South. That's sweet tea. I'll have to introduce you to it one day." Anyone else? Let me check on all. Someone else go. Just a few more minutes.
I just saw Mr. Nieces.
Yeah, he's packing up. I'm about to go. You watch that. I'll be done in just a minute. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think oftentimes your vulnerability can be your kryptonite. You know, you don't have to pretend. Just be authentic, you know, and just be yourself. And I think there's strength in that.
So, I mean, I think what you're saying is lack of vulnerability would be kryptonite, right? Like not being vulnerable, not being authentic is the kryptonite, right?
No, I'm saying I think the kryptonite is what makes you strong, and being vulnerable gives you that inner strength that you know yourself, you're confident in yourself, so you can show that part of yourself to others without feeling protective and like you're always on guard.
Right.
That's what I think, you know, and it's like I always tell people, I mean, what you see is what you get. I just can't pretend to be other than what I am. And to me, that's so freeing.
Right.
You know, it gives me strength to be like that.
And what I was saying earlier is that is an inner choice that we make. It should not be dependent on who's around us, what the circumstance or situation. We are living our best, most authentic self unapologetically. Not rudely, not forcefully, like not, I mean, if it's coming from a place of ego, then we might do things to make other people feel uncomfortable or to like press some kind of issue that we have or some kind of cause or whatever. And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just being. And that being comes from within, being our authentic self, and it doesn't change based on who's around. Do any of you experience self-consciousness in different situations, like around certain people make you feel more, you know, sometimes you can pick up on people judging you, or it might be, you may think that, no telling what's going on with them, but you think this person doesn't really accept me, or this group they don't really like me. And so I might change to try to please them or be more palatable to them. Not doing that is being authentic.
I think, you know, I should be like that a little bit, because when you started your talk, I was working on one of my whales. Well, I put the needle through my finger.
Ouch.
Now I have to go find my husband to get the tweezers to pull it out. And
the needle's still in there?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Wow.
it's still in there. And it's short, so I can't grab it. So
Wow.
So I'm gonna go and see if I can find him. He's downstairs doing something. But you know, I was stupid. I should have had, you should have had my undivided attention, and I was multitasking for a minute. And so I was stupid, and I apologize.
I hope you can get it out.
That's my authentic
okay.
self. I was being stupid. So, you know. Anyways, I'm gonna go. Love y'all.
Take care.
Glad to see you, and I'm glad to get an update on the movie. I was thinking about that this morning. I wonder how it was coming along. And,
there will be no dark beer in it. It's just it's gonna be Southern sweet tea.
Just sweet tea. Okay, good to know.
Take care.
We'll see y'all next week.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Based on based with what I was just saying, do you find that certain people bring out your authentic self, that you are loved, adored, appreciated, accepted by them, and you're like, wow, this is me? And others you think, ooh, I could never, I have to. And do you think we can get to the place where we're the same regardless of what others are doing around us? Or do you think we even should be? Should that be a goal?
You know, I don't know, because I think there are people that are unsafe. So, I mean, I think that's just the reality of it. And that, you know, part of relationships is discernment.
Mm.
And so I'm not sure that everybody wants or needs my authentic self, I guess, or would appreciate it. And that should not, maybe that shouldn't affect me, but I guess, you know, the human part of me says it does. It does. So I like to have far more people in my life that are safe.
Mm.
And those are my deep friendships and
Right.
where I am authentic. And I think that people that aren't that way just will remain acquaintances
Right.
who feel unsafe. You know what I mean? I mean, they will only, anyway, I don't know. I guess I would say that probably not, I probably don't think that.
If I mean, I think the vulnerability experts, they all talk about how important boundaries are and how
Okay.
there are people that are worthy of your vulnerability and those that are not.
Okay.
Especially, I mean, some people may like use it against you in a harmful, hurtful way.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. I still think the goal should be for us to be authentic in ourselves, no matter what, no matter when, no matter who we're around. But that doesn't mean necessarily exposing or sharing everything with everyone. But I don't know. I'm asking you.
There you go. I think that I just seem to know, you know, anyway, there are people that I have met that I don't deeply know and can sense that they need help. And so I